tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Good evening, friends. Welcome to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. So this evening we're going to continue on our review, a discussion on the 7 purifications. So the last 2 weeks we had gone over the purification of sila, the purification of the mind, and the meaning of that was that we, follow the precepts and, cultivate our mental restraints through using precepts and mindfulness to gain, to weaken the hindrances. So the purification of sila is to enable the ability to meditate and to gain concentration. So concentration is, considered what is called the purity of the mind, or citta visuddhi. And that basically means purifying the mind of the 5 hindrances. So it doesn't mean purifying the mind of greed, hatred, and delusion permanently. That comes later, but the purification of the mind of when the 5 hindrances subside, that's then when we can start developing deeper levels of mindfulness and developing wisdom. So this 3rd purification, the purification of view. Now, this could be, on 2 different levels. On a more general level, it could mean, using the intellectual teaching of the Dhamma, reading suttas, listening to Dhamma talks, to sort of purify your views, maybe some previously held erroneous views about what meditation is, about what the mind is, about, the world and so on. So, but basically it would mean like what is considered right view is the right view of the 4 Noble Truths. So understanding suffering, the cause of suffering, that suffering can be brought to an end, and the way to live, think, and meditate, the Eightfold Path, which can bring suffering to an end. So gaining a kind of an acceptance of that, and gradually, purifying some of your previously held views, such as maybe there's nothing like karma doesn't exist, or maybe you have views about rebirth, or just some other views about whether there is anything like enlightenment and so on. Anyway, at least getting a kind of intellectual acceptance, if not, to let go of those former views and start to at least to think about the Dhamma and to, try to live your life according to the Dhamma. But on a deeper level, the purity of view on the meditation level refers to gaining the understanding about name and form, or mind and matter. That our life is comprised of, basically, we have a material body here, that we call myself, and it's sitting in this larger external world where you see things, hear things, smell, taste, touch, feel things, and that triggers off your thoughts about them. And to gain an understanding that basically that is what our life consists of, and what the Buddha called the all. And what is the all? It means the moments of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking that are coming and going. And our mind and life revolves around that. It revolves around the memories of the past and the future and getting caught up in the law of karma. So anyway, that's the basic kind of right view. But when you start practicing, when you gain deeper levels of concentration, or you start practicing the moment-to-moment mindfulness, then you start to understand what is called the process of nama-rupa. That means the sense impressions coming through our senses trigger off our consciousness and thoughts about them, and then our reactions to them, which are mentally programmed activities of the mind. So basically, discerning mind and matter, it means discerning the five aggregates. It's at least, intellectually understanding that what we call our life are these moments of material vibrations, and then feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. And that makes up what we call myself. So the matter is, I have this physical body, and it's got these sense organs on them, but, sight, sound, smells, taste, touches are constantly going through your mind, triggering off all kinds of desires, aversions, likes, dislikes, reactions, greed, hatred, and delusion. So to understand clearly that is basically what our life consists of, and not the idea that I'm in control of my life and all these things are just happening without understanding them. So it's understanding the process of this discerning mind and matter, and especially that's true when you start developing moment-to-moment mindfulness, or even when you gain concentration. If you've been meditating and so just on the breathing, and you're really aware of the moment when the in-breath, whether you're focusing at the tip of the nose, the moment the in-breath, you feel that touch sensation, and then consciousness arises with it. It's we need consciousness to be aware of the world. Now, physical things may be going on, but if our mind isn't there, it's like we're dead. We're not gonna know anything. It's like when you go to sleep, basically you're dead to the world until you wake up. That's because the senses have been cut off. So knowing that our life needs both these things, the material world and the mental world, which has been conditioned, since birth, and we'll talk more about that later, about how the ego consciousness has arisen. We've already talked about it, of course. But so the purity of view means, at least intellectually understanding that, but also observing it in meditation. And the more concentration you have, then the clearer that purity of view arises. And it's like looking into a dirty mirror. Let's say you have a mirror in your house or in your bathroom and it's got a lot of, toothpaste stains on it or other kind of stains. And, you have to clean the mirror once in a while, right? But you can still see in the mirror, you can kind of see your, basic shape and face. You might not notice some subtler blemishes or other things that are developing. Maybe you're starting to get a pimple on your face or maybe a brown spot as you get older and you're looking for things. So it depends on the concentration to make the mind calm and clear, that you can see how quickly the consciousness arises. And you can see how our thoughts are triggered off in that. And so you can observe this, the five aggregate process. That's why the five aggregates are one of the most prominent and important aspects of developing a right view and developing wisdom, and especially the vipassana awareness comes down to, and also developing impermanence. You see how quickly those different stimulations and consciousness and reactions are continually coming and going, through our body and mind. And that's really what determines our life. Let's say you're reading a book, for example. Maybe you're absorbed in reading whatever it is, a mystery, or just trying to find out how to operate a new gadget that you got. But then, so your mind is observed in that. Step A, step B, and all of a sudden a loud bang happens in your house or something, and the mind gets immediately pulled away from what you're looking at. And now you're worrying about what was that bang, or maybe you smell smoke and you get all excited, and your mind gets immediately turned to another world, starts creating another mental preoccupation. And then something else might happen, and then the mind gets distracted from that thing and then starts paying attention to something else. Maybe on your running, you stub your toe and fall down and break your arm, and now your mind is all worried about, causing yourself injury. So like that, it's by developing our mindfulness, we can see how this process of mind and matter is continually, coming and going, depending on what is going on around us. And for the most part, that makes up our life. You're sitting in a quiet room, and somebody comes in and starts making noise or blaming you for doing something or whatever, and immediately you get caught up in an argument. I mean, the mind can change so fast. So it's understanding that how our the mental process is depending on the physical stimulations, and that is what keeps our mind going. And then you're able to see the cause and effect relationship too. So all that is considered to be developing the purity of view. Now, so that comes, when you start studying and you start meditating. The ideal way is you read some suttas or you read some book about meditation, but then afterwards you sit down and you try to think about it. You try to observe whatever you might have been reading about or even hearing these Dhamma talks. That's why I always include meditation after giving a Dhamma discussion, because that's the only way it's going to stick in your mind, more efficiently, and to be able to see something that you may not have understood just with a non-meditative state of mind, because the hindrances are coming and going. But when the mind gets more focused, when you meditate, then whatever you were thinking about comes more clear to focus. So That is how one develops the right view. Now, and so that can be developed through focusing on, one concentration object, such as the breathing, but it can, in my opinion, even more effectively come in when you're using that concentration to tune into the, you're developing momentary concentration and being able to see how quickly these sensory impressions are coming through and triggering off the mind, thoughts. So now, even though you might get the right view, there still may be certain doubts, lingering doubts that you have about it, especially like doubts about the ego. Maybe your right view hasn't gone that deep enough that you've gotten insights into no self or some other type of deeper insights that, so the overcoming doubts still might come into the mind, or some clever person from a different religion might get a hold of you and start, talking about a different religion, and you might kind of get interested in that, and then you might start having doubts. Well, really, can we really save ourselves, or do we need a savior? Do we have to believe in some external person to liberate ourselves? So some people might still be torn between these kind of doubts, or doubt about if there's any supernormal powers to be gained or any benefit to be gained by meditation, because some people are spouting that meditation is developed by the devil to distract people's minds and all these things you might hear about. So therefore, if your meditation hasn't gone deep enough, one could still entertain doubts if one has only reached these first three purification of sila, purification of mind, and purification of view. Because that doesn't mean the deep insights in attaining stream entry. No, it's a lesser kind of developments of the purity of view. It's more kind of intellectual, and from our observations and so on, you're 98% convinced, that it's true, but there still could be that little doubt. So the next step is to double down your efforts, and in overcoming the doubts, you keep on reflecting on the Dhamma over and over and over again, even in your meditation. And you develop the understanding about contact and the Paticca Samuppada, the 12 links of dependent origination that we went over in the last couple of months. We went over that. And, having a mind, having this mind and body, and it has the 6 senses, and then it has contacts. Contacts are always coming through the senses. But what determines a contact? And this is part of developing the right view also, and overcoming doubts, is something called the triple conjunction. Now, I hope, and this may sound a little bit confusing, but it means for a sense experience, for you to have a complete sensory experience where there's the feeling of, I am hearing this or doing this. There has to be an object impinging on your senses, like a sound coming into your ear. And the ear has to be working. And then there has to be the attraction to that sound. There has to be the mind bending toward the sound in order to have full cognition. Otherwise, the sound will just go across the back of your mind if it's a very mild sound, a faint sound, and it won't trigger off any thoughts in your mind, or it won't stick in your mind. But once it sticks in your mind and you start to identify that sound, then there's the, that interest in the object. And so the consciousness is drawn toward that object. To be a complete, you might say, full-blown sensory cognition, or a moment of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking. Those three things are necessary. Because, if you're sitting there hearing me talking right now, and all of a sudden or you put earphones on, or all of a sudden the speaker went off, and you couldn't hear the sound, then unless you can read my lips, you wouldn't know what I was saying, so it wouldn't really make much sense in your mind. So the sense organ has to be working, the object has to be there, and the sound has to be there, your ear has to be working, and there has to be your attention to it. Because if you're sleeping, when you sleep, there may be sounds going on in your room, right? Or if you were totally absorbed in a book, or you were sitting in the second jhana, you wouldn't hear any sounds necessarily going off in the room you were meditating in, because your attention isn't drawn to the object. So this is a part of right view too, that it needs those three things for a full sensory experience. It's not, I'm just doing all these things and all these things happen automatically. No, it's breaking it down and to see it in this kind of conditioned process, that nothing stands by itself. Everything depends on something else. So that's part of, in meditation, you can develop, you can take that as an object or something to think about in your meditation. In your next meditation, just think about that. Whenever you hear a sound, okay, that sound came through the ear, and because it was loud enough, my attention went there. But if Bhante's speaker all of a sudden went off and you weren't hearing anything coming out of my voice, then you might be hearing other things, but you're not hearing that particular thing that then would cause you to continue meditating. In other words, like when I'm meditating, sometimes I remind you to let go of your thoughts, or to take a deep, slow breath, come back into the body. Now, if I don't do that, you might have been lost in your thoughts for even some more minutes. But when you hear the sound, then it brings you back to the present moment and then causes you to then do something. So like that is, that is how our mind is being affected in the world, from moment to moment. So the purity of view means also contemplating the 12 links of dependent origination over and over again, understanding the birth and death of consciousness, and how beings when they die, their consciousness, if it's still conditioned strongly in all these habits, that's the energy that's going to propel it into a next life. So it's really contemplating the Dhamma over and over again until finally all those doubts are overcome. You overcome those doubts so that they won't affect you anymore. And that can effectively happen when you enter the stream. Entering the stream can even come with that kind of intellectual understanding of the Dhamma. If you're really focused, you might get a deep insight in that causes the mind to completely open, and you could overcome the doubts in that way too. But normally it happens when the mind is relaxed and focused, so that the mind is more sensitive to the subtle vibrations that are occurring, so that those insights can penetrate deeper. Okay, so the overcoming doubts, because if we still have doubts, even the doubt about yourself, some people say, "Oh, I'll never be able to do this," and And if you have those kind of doubts, it's going to take away from you giving your full energy, to the practice, Like I've told before, when I've been talking about my, early experiences, before I heard the Dhamma, I didn't know anything about the Dhamma and whether I would become a monk or anything else. But, one thing led to another, and then, kind of out of nowhere, boom, something happened, and it changed my outlook on things, and so on. So those, that kind of, we don't know when things will happen. So, but we have to keep on, keeping our energy focused and as best we can. So that's overcoming doubts. Now, by this time, normally when you've gained the purity of view and you've overcome those kind of grosser doubts, and you've gained concentration, there's what is the next step. The fifth step is what is called purification of what is the path and what is not the path. It's in a deeper meditation, when you develop a better concentration and your mind is flowing from moment to moment in momentary concentration, and the hindrance has been weakened. There's what are called the imperfections of insight, or what I call the traps, the trap of tranquility, and getting trapped in the rapture and the bliss that comes with the deeper meditation. Or you might see light when you start to develop concentration, when you get close to developing, the access concentration, or you might start seeing light in the mind. It could be a little pinprick of light there, like a star light. We look up and see a speck of light, which is a star. If your eyes are closed, you might see one of those emanating from basically the unconscious. And you could think, oh, that's a sign of enlightenment, or you might get entranced by it, because some teachers might actually have you then, if you see that light now, focus on that and try to hold your attention on that light and build it up so it fills up your whole mind, and then have different theories on what that means and so on. And that can distract you from, developing, furthering and deepening your insights. If you get distracted by these, what I call the ornaments of meditation, or you think you might, the feeling in the body will dissolve or get very light. You feel like, the weight of your body went down to hardly nothing. You feel like you're almost even floating, or some things like that, and that will attract you. Of course, it will be very pleasing and interesting, and it can get you to deviate from your course of concentration, or developing that moment-to-moment awareness. So in Vipassana meditation, mindfulness practice, we normally tell people not to get distracted or sidetracked by these what are called vipallasa, or mental hallucinations. That means mental images. Maybe you see a picture of, the Buddha flying through your mind, or some other person that you've known about, or you start having great clarity in the mind, and so on, or might think you remembered something from a past life, and you kind of get excited about that. I mean, some people claim to have done these things in meditation, but that can distract them, and then they think they've got some special power. Now they think they're going to be wanting to start to go out and teach others and so on, before they really cemented themselves, because these kind of things have happened. So anyway, so discerning that, as you continue the meditation practice and not getting distracted by what kind of images, visions, pleasant sensations, because all of these basically are still coming from within from the unconscious mind and can distract you. So that is what is discerning what is the path and what is not the path. The path is developing moment-to-moment awareness, developing insight into anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and not getting sidetracked or distracted by these other frills and thrills that can come with the meditation. Because it's very enticing and very tempting, because you might have been trying to meditate for many months or even years, and finally you're starting to maybe see some of these things that you heard other people talking about, and you kind of get excited. It doesn't mean these things are bad, but if you chase after them, they can get you sidetracked and not lead to deeper states, because most of them will wind up ending into just a dead end. So that's that stage of purification of knowledge of what is the path and what is not the path. And we can see a lot of spiritual teachers, even from the Buddha's day, but even in modern day, we've heard about these scandals of great yogis, lamas, other monks who've gotten, enamored with whatever power they might have, or their ability to, amass great followings, and the money that may or may not bring, or fame, and it can go to their head, if they haven't developed if they haven't entered the stream or attained the wisdom, the deep wisdom, especially of no self, then that is what can lead the mind astray. So then the mind is set up, is firmly connected to the moment-to-moment observation of the moments of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, and thinking, coming and going, and and also having overcome pain. Because when you develop that one-pointed concentration, that moment-to-moment awareness, even a lot of the pains that you normally would have felt in meditation are no longer, your mind is no longer being attracted to them. And so, that's a great relief too when you experience that. But again, that's not the end of the meditation. So, but anyway, that helps you when the pains subside and the mind is totally focused and not chasing after anything. Firmly concentrated in the present moment with that clarity of mind. Then that is what then leads to the next stages, and I'm not going to go into them now. But it comes into the sixth level of purity of knowledge and vision of the way. Now that you've learned what is not the path and what is the path, now you're firmly on the path. You develop that path through a further 8 or 9 stages as well. But just getting on that path, that would mean standing, usually it means retaining the stage of the stream entry. With the state of the stream entry, you're not going to be affected so much by all the kind of normal distractions, and that is truly the point when you're said to be standing on the Eightfold Path, because only then is your right view totally solidified and you've overcome doubts. But anyway, we're going to talk about go over those further stages next week, and I encourage you to read in the book, that book that I sent the PDF attachment to, If you missed that, go back in your email, the last 2 emails, and I had sent those out again, and read through that material, because that's how you gain the intellectual, the right view, and understand these stages that the mind, is going through. Because that's how people get blocked. People have been meditating for years and years and years, but they still haven't, maybe reached really deeper levels, and it's because they, in one way or another, they get, these impurities, come up, whether they know it or not. So it's good to know about them. Anyway, now, friends, if anybody has any questions about anything we went over, then we'll take a question. Okay, here's something in the chat box. It says, I believe that the light which is developed through concentration just means that you're concentrated to a high degree. Enveloping oneself in it is still just deep concentration, but it's not the path. Yes, that's right. That's right. It's because when the hindrances subside, then the light which is in the mind itself is, can come out. But that's, if you get attracted to the light and think that's what is God talking to you or something else, because this would happen to the yogis in the time of the Buddha. These yogis who were developing kasinas, light kasina and other things, and using this idea that this light means it's the light of Brahma, the light of God, and they try to develop it so it fills up their mind and blots out everything else. That they got stuck in that, And then when the Buddha came along and just, gave a couple sermons about this and not getting stuck on that, a lot of them attained enlightenment very quickly. But it was just that we get trapped in some of those states. They're not bad, but it's knowing that that's not the ultimate truth. This next question, what are the 16 kinds of knowledge and how do we practice this? Read that book that I just mentioned. It explains those 16 knowledges. We've already been talking about coming up to the 6th one, and then the 6th one actually has another 8 or 10 to it. So go ahead and read through that. Go to the chapter, I think it's chapter 6, maybe 5 or 6. Anyway, you can easily find it. In which it, especially that overcoming doubt, the chapter on overcoming doubt and what is the path and not the path. I recommend reading all of those because they're accumulative. They allow to accumulate that understanding. So that's what I would recommend you doing. It explains it better than I can explain it, because when you're giving a talk, just things are just coming out of your memory. But in the book, it's all written down clearly and step by step. Okay. How does one stop being affected by the petty criticisms of people? Because you think those people are criticizing you. And so it's clinging to the self-view is why you feel bad when no one wants to be criticized, really, because it's their self-image. It deflates their self-image. And so when you understand that it's just moments of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, and touching going, and the sense of I has just been created since birth, always come back and think about that example of the baby. The baby didn't have an ego. His mother could have told it all kinds of bad things when it was 6 months old, but it wouldn't have done anything to it because it wouldn't have known what the heck she was talking about, right? But it's only when we gain our knowledge and we gain this sense of self, and because of society's conditioning, then we take everything personally. So that is, and that's why whenever you notice the mind, okay, what is the criticism? It's some words coming in your ear, right? So there's the contact of some words coming into your ear. And then because the idea of yourself is there, the mind gets attracted to that, then start thinking, oh, that person's criticizing me. And then because of that attachment to the sense of self and the habit of getting angry or upset, then that habit of becoming angry or upset arises. And then you might, talk something back to the other person and it might turn into a big argument. So this is part of the right view. This is part of understanding how this all comes about. And that's why, that's the only way you can stop being affected by it, really. Is developing that mindfulness. Whenever you hear some word, just realize, it's just words, just hearing. And then you can prep yourself. Okay, don't get excited. Try to remember it's not really me. And they're just talking out of their own delusions and habits. So you don't take it so personally. You treat them as a sick person, because we're all sick until we've attained at least the stage of an anagami or arahant. And we're sick with our own delusions and so on. Oh, I was kicked out of the vet office today for complaining too much, according to the vet. Yeah, I better watch out. I took Mita to the vet a couple times. But I don't know, it depends. You're complaining too much. So that complaint could add some validity to it, I don't know. But it could be your own condition. Maybe you're over worrying about what's happening to your pet. It's common, or how much they're overcharging you. Maybe because, that's something that's going on too, right? Or prescribing things that maybe not necessary. So, our mind is always, because complaining is part of our ego. That makes us feel good. So that's why whenever we complain or we tell tales about other people, these are all ways of our ego's defensive mechanisms in, trying to protect our self-image. I'm getting this sign about my battery is running low. Plugged the PC in. It is plugged in. It has been. Anyway, I don't know about this. So, friends, I think we'll stop there. And thank you for your questions, and try to contemplate them in this coming week. And try to reread that information in the book. It's that most of that comes from the Visuddhimagga, and I've even mentioned these things in one of the books that I wrote. But really, that's you're not going to find that information hardly in any other books. All of it in one place like that. So it's really a gold mine, especially for people practicing vipassana and people that really want to understand the intricacies of the mind and consciousness. Just stand straight and get some deep, slow breathing. We're just going to do a few stretches. Just do some deep, slow breathing, developing this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out. Standing here and now, breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. And the next in breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up. Straighten the arms, stretch upwards. The out breath, release the fingers, arms back to the side. Keep feeling the sensations. In breath. Out. Once more, in. Out. Close your eyes, relax. Keep feeling the body. Feel the increased body sensation. Feel the clothing touching the outer skin. Subtle pulsations under the skin. Can hold the outline of the standing body in the mind's eye. And the next in-breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the arms over the head. Face the hands toward each other and stretch up. Out breath, come back down. In. Out. In. Close the eyes, relax. Keep feeling the body. Feel the head on top, arms at the sides, feet pressing the floor. Letting go of your thought. Just think, standing, 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 body, body, body. Next we'll do the side bending using both arms. So the next in-breath, raise both arms up. And keep your fingers and arms straight, close to your head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side as far as you comfortably can. Lift up on the in-breath. And bend to the left side, out-breath. In. Then to the right, out-breath. Once more to each side. The out breath, lower the arms, close the eyes, keep feeling the body, feel the increased body sensation, clothing touching the skin, subtle sensations under the skin. All the sensations are coming from contact, clothing touching the outer skin, or contact, cells in the body bumping into each other, producing sensation. You now spread your feet apart, legs of the feet, out to the feet, but you're twisting from right to left. Moving the arms out, breathe in. The out breath, twist to the right. Your eyes focus on the hand going back. In breath back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, the twist to the other side, outward. In breath. Out. In. Once more to each side. Relax. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Now bring your legs and feet back together. One last exercise. Backward and forward bending. Be careful with the back bend. Don't bend back too far the first time. Turn the palms outwards so the edges of your hands touch together. On the in-breath, raise the hands up level with your eyes. And begin spreading the arms apart as you bend back. On the out-breath, bend back, look at the ceiling. In-breath, carefully lift up. Keep the arms out at the sides. And on the out-breath, lower the arms and hands down towards you. Bend down towards you. Touch the floor, hand. Begin lifting up. Turn the palms outward again. In breath. Raise the hands up. Out breath, bend back. In breath. Out breath. Downward stretch. Once more, in breath. Out. In breath, lift up. Out breath. Downward stretch, try to keep the legs straight, let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. And lift up. In breath, hands together at the chest, out breath. Feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating, activated life force. This present moment, body-centered awareness. Okay, so let's come back to our seats, get ready for the meditation. Turn that light on. Just get comfortable in your sitting posture. Align your spine and head in a straight line. Focus your attention on the sitting body. Just gently close your eyes, feeling the eyes in the socket. Feel the head balanced on top of the neck, keeping the chin lifted up level with the floor. Just relax your shoulders. Try to feel that outline of the sitting body in the mind's eye. Generally feeling the head on top, hands touching together in the lap, buttocks pressing the seat, feet tucked underneath. And begin some deep, slow breathing with three-part breathing. Feel the more dynamic expanding and contracting of the breathing in the middle of that sitting body. Is cultivating mindfulness of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10 to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Try to follow that with your breathing and counting. So with the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath a second. And with the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. And the next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10, now just continue the counting. Let your breathing return to its uncontrolled, shorter, irregular rhythm, but continue to feel it, to observe it. You're keeping the attention focused on the expanding and contracting movements of the abdomen, rib cage, or chest. Or if you want to try to feel the air touching the tip of the nostrils as it goes in and out. Or both of them together. Just knowing when the breath is coming in. And knowing when the breath is going out. Have the feeling of being a scientist looking down through a microscope, keeping the attention focused on the breathing, wherever you feel it the easiest. If you can keep the outline of the body in the mind's eye, it's also a good way to focus. You can make these mental notes to help stay focused in the present moment. Just breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. The spaces between the breaths, the pauses between the breaths. Feel the outline of the sitting body. Just tuning into the 4 phases of each breath cycle. The expanding in-breath and the brief pause. The contracting out-breath and the brief pause. The ongoing, continuous connection to the present moment of this body. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Just letting go of the past and future. Especially with each out-breath, allowing the body and mind to relax more and more into the present moment. present moment, body-centered awareness. Allowing the momentum of thoughts to slow down, decrease, feeling more and more of the breathing process. Overcoming the hindrances. Feel all those different subtle sensations of the breathing process. All those sensations of the breathing you're feeling, just the rupa, the material contact. The consciousness, the knowing faculty is what can feel the contact. That attention. Just keep turning up the power of the mental microscope. Notice more and subtler sensations, details in the breathing body. The mind is centered enough, opening up to feel the other body sensations around the breathing. Breathing is there in the middle, all around it. Other sensations can be noticed in the background. Clothing touching the skin, prickly or itching sensation. maybe some minor aches or pain. Be alert for the thoughts moving through the back of the mind, wanting to dart in, to steal your attention away. The mind is calm and focused enough to cultivate the right view. Everything we experience is just material phenomenon and the mental phenomenon. All the sensations of your body are there, but it's our mind, the consciousness, the knowing faculty that's aware. If your mind gets lost in thoughts, you're no longer aware of the body. The body needs the consciousness in order for it to exist in your mind. I just keep remembering this breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. Give that constant attention to the material vibrations of this breathing body. You can try to notice the five aggregates, to recognize the five aggregates. Material body is there with the breathing, and all those material elements, the interactions of cells, producing sensation, producing pleasant, painful, neutral sensations that you recognize. That's an itch on my face, that's a pain in my knee, those are perceptions, that's mental activity. Just notice that activity of the mind, noticing, identifying different things. If it gets lost in thoughts, you lose that consciousness of the body, become lost in a mental world. And the mind comes back to the body. If you hear any sounds, you're thinking about the sound. Just try to watch, observe that body-mind process, the nama-rupa process, from moment to moment. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many different sensations coming and going. Some sounds come and go. Thoughts coming and moving in the back of your mind. It's the awareness that knows all of that. It's the moment-to-moment consciousness arising with each stimulus. From time to time, take a few deep, slow breaths. Help stay centered, awake in the breathing body, observing the flow of body and mind phenomenon, the nama-rupa process. Knowing what is material vibrations, knowing what is the mind's activity, feeling, perception, volition, consciousness. It's coming and going moment by moment. If you notice that sense of I, me, or mine in the mind, connected with some object, your body or breathing, ask the mind, where did this I come from? Can you answer that question? If you still have doubts about where this I comes from, keep examining, contemplating 12 links of dependent origination, steps of grasping, becoming, birth. Cultivating the right view about the mind and body. Sambe Sankara Anicchati Yada Panyaya Pasati Atanibindati Dukhi Esamago Visuddhiya. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to briefly last and change and vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity, freedom. And thus spoke the Buddha. Now to finish, I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do the chanting on a long out breath to feel those vibrations. So just take a deep breath. Breathe. Breathe. Now mindfully place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep, slow breath. As you breathe in, stretch your head back. Pull your hands on the knees to arch back. Lift the head up on an in-breath, and on the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in breath. Relax on the out breath. Okay, friends, this brings our evening meditation to an end. And hope some of you are able to get some moments of some calm, quiet minds, some awareness. You can see how quickly material and mental phenomenon arise and pass away.
It's relaxed.
Developing the right view of the mind. Okay, so try to practice during the week and even during your daily life, not just while meditating. When you're, during the day, you can observe how quickly the mind reacts to material stimuli, especially if you can do the M&Ms every hour, pause for a minute, bring your attention to the body, try to bring your attention back to get a glimpse of that Dhamma that's always there beneath our outwardly focused, future-oriented mind. Come back to the present moment. Okay? So next week we will continue on and try to read again the part of that book, the attachment that I sent out, the 7 purifications, to read, continue reading those sections. And we'll start with the insight knowledges next week. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Bhante.
Be peaceful, be mindful, be wise.
Thank you, Bhante.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you, everyone. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. I'm so relaxed. Yeah,
That's great.
beautiful.